I went to my family and they very much rejected the idea.
Of input or of you being ADHD or what?
It was you're fine, there's nothing wrong with you. Who's told you this? I think neurodivergence is at the heart of why we don't speak to each other. And there's been a lot of stuff that's happened as a result of not understanding our brains. People talk about ADHD as a superpower. I'll be honest with you, I don't see it as a superpower. But I do thank it for getting me here. Maybe I'll go down the route of official diagnosis, maybe I won't. But this feels like something that I needed to do because I for once feel normal.
Welcome to the Hidden 20%, our neurodiversity charity on a mission to rewrite the future for people who think differently. Together with you and an eclectic range of brilliant guests, we can break the cycle of silence by smashing outdated stereotypes, exposing the myths, and sharing the most up-to-date truths about what it really means to be just different, not deficient. The best way you can help is really simple. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and if you can, donate to our charity through the link below. Enough preamble. I'm Ben, your host. Let's get into today's episode. Sophie, so you are, let me get this right, plant-based chef, PT, best-selling author, and you've got like 1.5 million followers.
That sounds quite impressive, doesn't it? But I'm just a girl. But yes, on paper, it sounds pretty weird to hear you say that.
Well, that's my shorthand. Here's Sophie. What's it like being in your head?
God, it's an interesting place. Yeah, I mean, right now, right this second, what's it like to be in my head? Because I mean, it changes. Right now, I feel very happy to finally be me and to be almost opening up about the things that I've been so ashamed of. So in a weird way, I feel kind of proud at the moment, which is a really lovely feeling to have. And I'm trying to obviously squash the feelings of imposter syndrome that I have. So that's what's going on right now.
Okay.
But on a day-to-day basis, many, many things.
Let's go back to childhood and what were you like as a young girl?
Yeah, I mean, I probably grew up quite shy and withdrawn. I was an only child for the first 16 years of my life before my half-sister was born. A single-parent family. I was somewhat studious, but inattentive in a way that typically my school report card would be, she shows lots of promise, but she's often away with the fairies.
Okay.
And I was often away with the fairies quite a lot of the time. I think being an only child as well, you have to entertain yourself. And I would often just spend hours looking at my own hands. And I'd often forget where I was or what I was saying and what I was doing. And then Mum actually tells this really funny anecdote where we used to have dinner in front of the TV sometimes. And she was like, yeah, you would just used to hold your fork like that for a good 10 minutes. And while you were watching something and you just forget what you were doing. But yeah, it was quite a quiet childhood, I would say.
You had some interesting pets.
Yeah, no, we had lots of pets in the house. Over the years, what did we have? We started off with one cat, which became 3 cats. The cats didn't multiply. We got new ones.
Okay.
We also had fish, who also multiplied. The fish I called cat and dog for some reason. We also had stick insects for a bit. We had a guinea pig and a rabbit. The rabbit was free roam rabbit.
Okay.
In the garden. And the guinea pig was called Lemon and the rabbit was called Honey. I don't know why I named the guinea pig Lemon. And then the stick insects would often escape in the house as well. So we'd have a stray stick insect.
Okay.
So it was fun.
How was school, puberty, relationships, social side? How did you find that?
Yeah, difficult, I would say. I definitely didn't feel like I was the archetypal student or friend. And I often felt quite left out. I often used to think that I was being bullied or sidelined. I don't know whether I was or not, whether I could discern that as a kid. And then as I grew into a teenager, I had my first boyfriend. I became absolutely obsessed with him. Mm-hmm. Obsessed, and then kind of retreated into this relationship, and that was all that was happening in my life. And I had very intense feelings as a kid, and it was if we ever had a fight, it felt like the end of the world.
Yes.
And we ended up breaking up at university, actually. Initially went to a different university in London, and he went to one in Southampton. and I couldn't bear being apart. So I actually ended up moving university 6 weeks into term to be with him. And then we ended up breaking up. And then that kind of tipped off like a lot of events that, you know, socializing at university, there's obviously a lot of alcohol.
Sure.
So after that, the demise of said relationship, there was a lot of bad decisions made. And my whole issue with alcohol started developing, I would say, around that time, which was quite a tough couple of years. And all the academic promise that I had as a child, which it seems like kind of showy-offy to say this, but everybody predicted that I would get into like an Oxbridge University.
Okay.
Ended up not doing that at all.
Okay.
Ended up getting good GCSEs, completely effed up my A-levels, and ended up going to the university that kind of wasn't right for me. And I guess maybe that was just because I was so distracted at the time with this relationship that was like everything to me.
Yes.
And I just wasn't interested in schoolwork. So then it all went downhill from there, I would say. And then I felt maybe ashamed in a way, or pushed that down and medicated that with lots of alcohol and partying and going out and probably hanging out with people that maybe were not so good for me. So yeah, that's kind of a little wrap up of how puberty and early life went with it. At the time I was unaware as to why I would go out and I would be the one that was paralytic after 4 or 5 drinks. I was a very small person, but I couldn't regulate my alcohol use at all. And it led to me being in a lot of sticky situations. Really, like some bad stuff happened.
What do you feel about your brain?
What do I feel about it? Like now looking back?
Yeah.
I feel compassion, but in a way, like if you'd asked me that question a few years ago, I would have probably said frustration, like something, like a life that I felt like I lost out on in a way. Maybe didn't have control over completely. And I realised that I didn't have control over it now, and I'm quite forgiving of myself now. And as I try to understand things, as I've learned more about neurodivergence and what that meant for me. But yeah, looking back a couple of years ago, I was quite frustrated with myself and quite angry. But now I'm a little bit more at peace with it. And I feel like a little bit more emotionally intelligent, and I can look at all those things and see how they've led me to where I am today and be happy with that. But yeah, it was quite a hard pill to swallow for most of my 20s, I would say.
And how would you describe your brain?
Right now?
Yeah.
Chaotic. Sometimes it can be my worst enemy. Sometimes it can be my best friend. It's one of the two. It all depends. It all depends on how I set myself up and the things I put in place to control that. But yeah, I appreciate my brain for its creativity. And I think through a lot of recent years, I've been too harsh on myself, but actually, and I thought, oh, if I can do this, then everyone can do this. But in the last couple of years, as I've grown my business, I've realized that, okay, I have this talent and this is cool. And maybe people can't do this in the way that I can do it. And that's awesome. And I need to give myself a bit more credit for that. So I feel a bit happier in my own head.
And you are not diagnosed, that's correct?
No.
But you would like to believe you are? Where's your head at with that?
I don't think anything's been more obvious to me. It's just like definitely from my partner's side as well. Like he believes that as well. And I see a lot of the traits in my family as well. And a lot of stuff in my past life has been explained by it. So it's almost for me like I feel like I don't need that tick box. And also the process of actually getting diagnosed is something that repels me, physically repels me. Like looking at lists and checkboxes and stuff like that. And I've moved around so much in my life and stuff. I've been registered with different GPs who perhaps have led me down the path thinking I'm this or that and misdiagnosed me with depression or anxiety, blah, 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 blah. When I don't really identify as those things. So it's just been really hard to kind of get somebody to understand that. But there's just so many things that crop up. And I guess this has been due to the fact that over the past couple of years, there's been a huge amount of awareness that's gone into late diagnosis, especially for women, that I was just like, oh my God, this feels like me.
Can you remember a moment when you realised you might be ADHD?
Yeah, I do actually. I remember in one of my jobs, one of the guys I was working with apparently went behind my back and told the rest of the team, I think Sophie has ADHD. And then one of them told me at the time, this was like 2018, 2017 maybe, one of them told me. And I was like, oh, I was so offended. I was like, no, that's crazy. Like my initial recollection of what ADHD was like a small boy fidgeting around in his chair, being really annoying, perhaps lobbing things, you know, and I felt
disruptive.
I just felt like that was so unfair. And I was like, I really hated this guy. And, you know, I didn't speak to him from then on. And that's probably another symptom, isn't it? Just like a little bit of RSD happening there.
Yes.
Right? So that happened. And then from then on, I just kind of buried it for a little bit. And then obviously with the rise in reels and content that's been made about it. And as I was on my own healing journey as well, from a lot of things that had happened in my life that didn't really make sense to me. It's like my early childhood and my teenage years and early 20s just didn't really match up. Like the path was just so jagged. And there was a lot of things that I couldn't understand. Like the paths that I had taken and weren't congruent with who I was as a person. And I really wanted to make sense of that. And I remember talking through, I think with a friend at the time who sent me a couple of pieces of content online. And it was a slow process. It wasn't like a eureka moment. It was a slow process. It was like a filtration gradually. And then I read about the genetic connection. And I just like remember back to my childhood when my mum would like fold the washing, shove it in the airing cupboard. And every time I would open it, the whole thing would fall down, you know? And then there was so many things that just like made sense all at once. And then I looked at my grandma and I was like, oh my gosh, she can't do paperwork to save her life. When my granddad died, she just had so many problems with that. And she reacts very quickly and she's a very emotional person as well. It all made sense in that moment. And I remember actually, I was like, how do I go about this? Because I know to get officially diagnosed, you have to like speak to family.
This is the second time I've heard this in the last 2 days, actually. And I just want to say, because I didn't say it to the person who said this to me yesterday, I didn't ask anybody with my process. I was asked to ask family members, my wife, my brothers. I didn't even tell my wife I was going for an assessment. So yeah, I didn't ask anybody because I didn't want anybody else's input because I just wanted to know for myself.
Yeah. How did you get that kind of, because I was told always by the NHS that I would need.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to ask Renata because it was Renata who assessed me. But I did say, and I'm sure there are plenty of people who, for a variety of different reasons, don't want to get input from their family or can remember enough about their childhood to be able to kind of explain some of that. But yeah, I have a formal ADHD and autism diagnosis without any input from my family or my wife.
That's music to my ears. Because I went to my family and they very much rejected the idea. So
of input or of you being ADHD or what?
It was you're fine, there's nothing wrong with you. Who's told you this?
Okay.
That kind of, and I realised then that.
But they're also not the only people that have said that, right? You said to me before we started recording, you've been for an assessment and someone tells you, you're all right, fine, go away.
Yeah. Because I guess when I did go for that, I felt a lot of shame. It was quite early on in this process. I was just curious about it. And I went in there with this like zipped up personality where I tried to show all the things that I'd done to circumvent it.
Yeah.
In a sense that they might see through that.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
But no, like I think for my family, like they are so deeply there that they can't even recognize it in themselves. So, and it explains a lot of explosive behavior, a lot of RSD, a lot of explosive behavior. We're a family that don't talk to each other. I'm now estranged from my mum.
My mum can't even talk about this.
It's so weird, isn't it?
I don't think she's ever listened to the podcast. She's never asked me about the charity. I haven't even told her that River, our 6-year-old daughter, is diagnosed autistic. She just can't get there, just won't engage with it.
Yeah. Do you think it's because they have shame attached to it from like their generational background?
Yeah, I'm sure it's about the beliefs of, I mean, it's been amazing. We've had 4 or 5 people sit in that chair who are 60, 65 plus, who have a renewed understanding of their brain, very late diagnosed, and can speak really openly about it. But that's not true of the whole of that generation, I guess.
No, I think they've got like a very almost conservative attitude to everything's fine, kind of keep calm and carry on.
Yep.
Definitely that boomer category.
Is this basically a reason why you don't talk to your family?
It's one of the reasons. I think there's a lot of,
That's so
I
tough.
think neurodivergence is at the heart of why we don't speak to each other. And there's been a lot of stuff that's happened as a result of not understanding our brains.
Yeah.
that I think has caused certain actions or certain feelings towards certain people.
It's really sad though, isn't it? That lack of understanding and curiosity can like put such a wall in place.
Mm-hmm. It's really sad. I just don't see them. I haven't seen them for 2 years now.
So they don't want to engage with the process. They don't want to engage with the input and don't want to believe that your brain might be different.
They don't understand it. I feel like there's such stigma. My mother herself has suffered with mental health problems in the past. I've learned this through my grandma. She's never been open with me about it. And there's always been that barrier up between us about mental health. That I've been going through some really tough times and I've reached out to her and she doesn't know how to help. And I'm trying to understand from a compassionate perspective. It's like maybe she's not in touch with her own because she's been putting her own walls up and going through her own pain for so long that she can't possibly try and understand someone else's.
Yeah.
So I understand that in a way. So I'm trying to draw some peace with it.
But you understand that intellectually, right?
Yeah. But underneath, obviously, it hurts a little bit.
Yeah. So then knowing that you don't necessarily need your family's input, how does that now land with you?
I'm very lucky. I've got a very supportive partner who himself is almost definitely on the spectrum.
Okay.
So that's been really nice. We're so connected. He's given me all that love and that support. And his family are also incredibly loving and understanding. So it's almost like I've been incredibly lucky to find somebody like that. I know there's a lot of people in my position who might not have found that.
Yeah.
And I don't even like to think about if I hadn't have swiped on Hinge that time, what would have happened. There's nobody like him that has ever been able to understand my struggles and how my brain works so perfectly.
And vice versa?
Yeah, for sure.
You get each other?
We completely get each other.
What have you learned about being in a neurodivergent relationship and what challenges have you faced?
So he's done a lot of reading about this, bless him, which has been really lovely. And I've sent him things as well to help him understand. But I think initially there was that period of like, why is the house so messy? Why is there always a pile of clothes somewhere? And like, he's somebody that likes a clean space and he likes to keep things tidy. So I came in and it was just like bull in a china shop. You know, like when we first moved in together, he had a very, very clean, tidy flat. And I was really worried because he used to moan about mess and stuff like that. I really, really tried for so long to keep this like pretense of cleanliness up. But then obviously, you know, just there's stuff happens and life gets in the way, life gets busy. I'm not able to keep that up.
Relax with each other, right?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
moving in together, you kind of sort of, hey, it's a bit okay now.
He's really good with it. He does like, he's very compassionate. He understands that I need somebody to help me break the pile. So every week we do a pile breaking session together, which is great.
Great.
There's also, because of my lack of like understanding of object permanence or whatever it is. So especially when I was writing my cookbook, there would just be in the fridge was like a graveyard of stuff. I would just forget it was there. I just used to put stuff in, shut the fridge, forget about it, slam it shut. It's absolutely full. Like at one point it was really, really bad. There was just like rotting food everywhere. He was just like, what is going on here? Like, come on, we need to, and he'll sort it out for me. Like some days he'll just come and empty the fridge.
Okay.
I do feel like he takes a lot of the mental load sometimes, especially in these really busy periods.
Yes.
And I'm very, very grateful for that. And I try and make that up in other ways. And I think I do, you know, he gets cooked meals every night.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we fit quite nicely together. He's a good cook, but he prefers not to cook after a long day at work. So,
sure.
You know, that's something that I offer him in that way. It's a balancing act.
It is a balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about food and your brain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right, aren't I, that you grew up vegetarian?
Yeah, it was not on the menu.
It was not on the menu.
No.
Why have you made that into a career?
I feel like it definitely just defined my identity. It just wove into me seamlessly as I grew up. My mum went veggie when she was 12.
Okay.
What happened was my grandma and my granddad took her to a farm. And they said, oh, look at that cute little lamb. And she goes, oh, it's very, very cute. And then my grandma or granddad says, oh, we're going to be eating that for dinner. And she's like, what? Is it? Which I think is another trait of her, you know, alleged neurodivergence, perhaps.
Yes.
And then she decided from then on to be the only vegetarian in the household. And, you know, she carried that on and obviously gave that to me. And I think it's a gift. It's lovely. I had that choice when I was 12 or 13 or so, like, hey, your friends are going to McDonald's. Do you want to go with them?
Sure.
This, by the way, is where it comes from. It's a living, breathing animal. Do you want to eat it? And I was like, no, obviously not. So I understood where it came from and I had context as well. So, and I felt very strongly about it. I think when you grow up with somebody who made an ethical decision to not want to harm animals, it kind of just bleeds into you as well.
Sure.
So there was that. And then obviously it comes with a lot of questions, especially, you know, in the early 2000s. It wasn't as common as it was today. So I'd often get lots and lots of questions about health and about like why. So I was constantly answering and finding out more. So it kind of made me an expert on the subject from a very, very young age. And that just developed as I got older. You know, when I went to university, I was doing the cooking and I just kind of had to do that. If I had a friend round in the uni halls for dinner, I had to cook because they didn't know how to cook vegetarian food. So it was almost like I was kind of thrust with this. Like I shouldered that burden.
Sure, I'll do it.
Yeah, and became a better cook from quite a young age as well. And Mum used to love making things from scratch. We were a very creative family. She used to love making sausages and hummus and stuff like that. So I grew up with this love of homemade food as opposed to ready meals or anything convenience-based. We were almost drawn to colourful, creative food because it made our brains feel better, it made my brain feel better. It made, I notice a huge difference when I cook and eat my own meals as opposed to, I mean, it's lovely to eat out, but if you're getting fast food or stuff, like you feel it, don't you? You don't feel as good. So my brain just automatically made that connection and I was always cooking all the time. And it was just notching up those hours and honing that skill until it became something that I was really proud of. And people would always talk about how nice it was to eat my food. Yeah, it just kind of naturally grew, I'd say.
Why do you think your brain makes you really fucking good at this?
Because it's always different. It's fun, isn't it? You're doing stuff with your hands. Like I'm a very visual learner. I like to see things sizzle. I like to see things roast. If someone tries to explain something to me in like a verbal instruction, it's like, oh, what did you say? Okay. So, you know, and I wasn't reading recipes properly. I was looking at stuff and just saying, oh, that might be quite nice. And then I liked certain tastes. So a lot of my recipes, you'll find a lot of the same ingredients and a lot of the same processes, but I just kind of combine them in different ways. You know, it's born out of like a love of certain tastes with a lot of experimentation from different influences as well. So I don't think I've ever followed a recipe properly.
Why is it important to feed our brains?
Well, gut health, I guess. I mean, one of the key proponents to every recipe I create is how many new things can we bring in? How many different colors can we bring in? Because that feeds our gut microbiome, our gut bugs, and the happier our gut bugs are. There's this, obviously you've heard of the brain-gut connection. The happier we are, basically. I mean, a lot of our serotonin, the happy hormone, is made in the gut. I think it's something in the region of 80%, maybe even higher. And that has such a profound effect on how I feel day to day. So if I don't have like a diverse, colourful meal at some point during the day, I will feel it the next day. So that's why it's super, super important for my brain.
What are the top 3 foods for you, Sophie, that help an ADHD brain?
So it's kind of funny, you know, because I never really go out to design a recipe around foods that will help my brain, but I automatically gravitate towards a few things. Definitely berries, like blueberries, because they're like full of antioxidants, which help reduce brain inflammation. And then secondly, I always include some kind of leafy green, whether that's like kale or cavolo nero if you're feeling posh, or, you know, it's just some spinach in like a curry or something like that, because they're full of vitamin B or B vitamins that help make neurotransmitters like dopamine.
Which is really good for emotional regulation.
Yeah, of course. And my brain needs more of it all the time. And then I always just go for a high protein meal because it's just full of energy, like slow release energy, and, you know, supports my brain, cognitive and physical function, because I do a lot of exercise and your brain needs the energy throughout the day, needs like sustained energy.
With your brain, what do you find challenging about your work? Where do you get stuck?
Every day, Ben. Every day I have a choice, right?
Okay.
So I get up and if I reach for my phone, game over. If I wake up and I leave the phone, I get up, I have breakfast, and I get out and I do some exercise, that sets the tone for the whole day. But if I don't, I will get stuck. And there's a lot of different variables that affect that. Like if I wake up, for example, on Monday it was raining. It was just pouring with rain. I woke up, I was like, oh God. And I just reached for my phone straight away. And before I know it, it's 3 p.m. I'm sat on the couch. I'm like, I'm stuck. I can't do anything. There's all these things that I need to do. There are tons of things I need to do. Edits for my cookbook. I need to email that person back. I need to film a recipe. I need to respond to the 100 messages that I've got in social media. And it just all like piles up on me. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot do this.
And what do you do at 3 o'clock on the sofa when that overwhelm comes? I feel overwhelmed hearing you say it. So
it's horrible, isn't it? I don't know if you ever have the same, but it's very, very difficult. This is where Will, my partner, came in. He came in, he was like, right, you're stuck. He's also aware of it. And he's like, remember the goal that you have. Remember what you do now is going to affect that. And it's like, either I have to manually override, and it takes a lot. So it takes a lot of energy to do that. Sometimes it doesn't work. Or I have to just fall into it and accept that it's a rest day and honour that and honour the fact that clearly my body or my brain needs to rest, and that's okay. And I'll put on something like a comfort watch and put the blanket on and get myself a tea, and that works fine. But it's just like before, I remember in the early days when I first went self-employed, I used to really savagely beat myself up over those stuck days. I would say like, you're not worth anything. You're not good. Why are you doing this? Well, if you're not productive all of the time. And I think when you're self-employed as well, like sometimes you'll catch up with somebody or sometimes you'll see somebody at an event and they'll reel off all this, like this massive list of stuff they've done. Oh, I filmed 2 recipes. I got back to 20 people and then I did this and I did that and I blah, 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 blah. And sometimes I just used to stand there like, oh my God, like I know I shouldn't compare myself, but I do. And you end up like feeling really dejected and like really horrible.
Yes.
So it's really, really tough.
And then give me the opposite when you've absolutely smashed it. Tell me about Sophie on fire.
So I think when I first decided that I wanted to be self-employed after a huge string of corporate jobs that I either got fired from or left.
You did like 9 in 9 years or something.
Yeah, we can get into that. But I decided like enough was enough. Basically, there was a breaking point. So I decided, I think it was just before Christmas in 2022, that for the month of January in 2023, I would create a recipe and post it every single day for the month of January, which I did do. And I said to myself, if you find yourself sat there twiddling your thumbs doing nothing, you need to work. You need to be editing, you need to be doing stuff. Even if you're commuting on your way to work, you need to be editing. If you're on the toilet, you need to be editing. If you manage to work from home and you've got like a 10-minute break, you need to be shopping for groceries or making a recipe. You need to grab every single minute to make this work, because otherwise you're going to be stuck in this job and it's going to suck. And that was like the most intense month of my life, and I did it, and I did smash it. I smashed out 30 recipes and it changed my entire life. Wow. But I am still recovering from that month. I was like intense burnout.
How long ago was that?
It was 2023.
Okay.
And there have been periods.
You're still dealing with it?
Well, yeah, I mean, my first cookbook, that again, I think I wrote like a massive introduction where I really went into the weeds on plant protein and how it was better for health and plant diversity and all of these things that I'm very passionate about and speak about almost daily on my account. And that was basically the length of like a very long dissertation. It was about 25,000 words.
Okay.
So that was another period. Okay. And there seems to be like 1 month a year that I'll do this, you know. This year, it was my second book. I went into like full testing mode. I was doing 10 recipes a day, absolutely flat out, dead. And I will burn out and it will be really, really horrible. Like this is, I think, why I'm getting stuck days a little bit more often at the moment.
Okay.
It's now like every other day or every third day I'll get a stuck day. I'm burnt out. I need to realise that.
What are you trying to do to avoid the burnouts?
Well, I speak to a lot of people and, you know, they'll come up with suggestions like, why don't you write a list? Or, you know, and that just doesn't work. And I think for me, it's the outsourcing thing.
Yes.
So you're going to be going like this forever, this cycle of intense work and burnout. If you don't offload some of this stuff, then you are going to just dry up. So I hired an assistant at a point where there was an especially busy period. I missed a posting date for an ad for a brand that I love and almost completely sabotaged the relationship. And that was like a bit of a breaking point for me. I was like, there's too much stuff going on here and I'm not going to make it. So I ended up hiring an assistant and that's been really helpful. But even that's tough. I don't know how to direct her. Like, I'm like, can you just come and pull it out my brain? Is that okay?
What do you think you're like to work with?
I bet I'm really annoying to work with. Yeah. My partner likes to call me an individual contributor.
What does that mean?
In his world,
An individual contributor.
in his tech marketing world, there's two types of people. There's people that manage effectively and can delegate and get things done efficiently. And then there's people that just are in their own lane doing their own thing. So that's me.
Okay, I've not heard that phrase before.
I've actually forgotten the question the original question.
I just said, what do you like to work with?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I can be perhaps quite erratic, always late. This is from my corporate days.
Yeah, so tell me about 9 jobs in 9 years.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I just thought I was a hopeless lost cause, to be honest. Like, I think I got fired from about 3 or 4 of the jobs, if I remember correctly. And then a lot of them I just, got bored and left. But I did everything. My first job out of uni was marketing assistant for a car dealership. And it was just like the most, in classic junior marketing style roles, they'll give you everything to do. Hey, can you do the website? Can you do the social media? Can you also run this car show? Can you hold an event for some rich banking dude who's going to come in and buy loads of cars?
We need a banner.
Yeah, and I threw myself into it in classic ADHD style. Managed to spin some plates for approximately 3 months.
Yeah.
And then bang, like...
Get a load done.
Yeah, I know. And then I just lost all enthusiasm and I was like, I feel like I'm being exploited here. And yeah, and I was always late. There was one particular car show. I was 21 years old, told to run it, drive some of the cars down. This was the New Forest show. And then hire a temporary sales team, manage them, whilst also like being on site all day. And then I obviously overextended myself. So I was like moonlighting as a car salesman when I knew absolutely nothing about these cars. So I'm like opening the doors and slamming them. And also I booked a pitch that was too small and the cars, all the doors were opening on each other. And I was like, oh, this is awful. And then the cars, because they're battery powered and electric, they ran flat. And then there was one set of keys in the car and then I couldn't get it open. And I was like, oh my God, I've messed up here. So I managed to get somebody from a different car to come and jumpstart the cars for me. Very asked him politely. But yeah, that was one I got fired from.
Okay.
Don't know if it's because of that. Might have been a contributing factor. I remember actually there was this banking event that we had in the evening where I put one of my playlists on and it just like came out with some like hip hop rap and swearing. And I was like, oh my God. And I didn't even realise until the song was halfway through. And then somebody came up and told me, it was like this mezzanine type office. And they were like, what are you doing with the speakers?
Brilliant.
So there was a lot of things like that. So that one I was fired from. I also worked at a debt collection agency. I wasn't collecting debts. I was doing the marketing. And then I worked
debt collection.
Marketing debt collection.
That's hardcore.
That one I got bored and left.
Okay.
Then there was a marketing agency that I worked for that I was writing like copywriting articles about things like fire curtains, which was very interesting.
Okay.
And plane tracking apps.
Amazing.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great. I mean, I hadn't. I was so bored. I was like, how do people do this? I remember sitting in that job and thinking, is this my life? How do people do this?
What did you want to do?
I don't know. At the time, I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. This was like the 3rd job in. I think I had this idea that I wanted to be that person that came up with adverts,
sure.
Like Compare the Meerkat, which we thought was hilarious at the time. So I wanted to work in advertising in some description. Ended up getting there in a roundabout way.
What do you think attracted you to marketing, advertising?
I just thought it would be fun. Yeah. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I mean, I 5 jobs later after getting fired from that other marketing agency and then going out to London, getting fired by my own uncle. And then I worked for a little bit for a food company. That was fun, food marketing. And then I ended up in a big London advertising agency as a social media director, thinking, how the hell did I get here? Doing ad campaigns for plasters.
Okay.
I was like, oh. I wanted to cry every single day.
Okay.
I was like, and there was also like a ferry company that we did it for as well. And it really wasn't what I thought it would be. Being creative as a social director, I thought it would be, fun and glamorous.
Sure.
You come up with all these fun ideas for fun campaigns, but they would all get shot down by the client or by my superiors. So it would end up like we'd have a content calendar for plasters.
Sure.
And we have to create content for plasters. And some of these very, like boring posts would go through, and I'm not joking here, 40 different emails. So a 40 long email chain to sign off one post. That post got 4 likes. And I was like, there's something wrong with work here. There's really something wrong.
Yeah.
And that was like my eureka moment, along with some of the brands we were working with not being totally ethical.
Yes.
And me thinking to myself, I don't want to put my time and my money towards something that's funding this that I don't totally agree with. So yeah, that was my break point.
Having like been fired lots and not found what you wanted to do, what did you therefore believe about yourself at that point?
It's going to sound really woo-woo.
Go for
And
it.
I think there's a word for it, but I've forgotten that word. I was sitting at dinner. It was like a Boxing Day dinner at my partner's brother's house. And I just felt this like really weird feeling. Always had an interest in food. I loved social media. It was my job. I liked being creative on social media without limitations.
Sure.
And then in a weird way, I had this epiphany moment, and it was like it felt like a really strong pull or a calling almost towards, you can just go and do this on your own, and you should, and you've got something to give to the world that could help people. Not in those words, but it was more of a feeling than anything else. And I just sat there in silence for a bit. And then my partner's brother, who's also very spiritual, was like, what are you thinking about? And I told him, and he was like, that's really interesting and you should do it. And then in the days between, you have that period of like, you don't have to work between Christmas and New Year in some places. Well, I did, but I just used to wheel the mouse on Slack and then just go back to what I was doing. Don't do this at home. Yeah. And then I just started stacking up all my videos ready to go for my 30-day challenge. And I did it. And at the time, I think I had about 10,000 followers. And yeah, I 10x'd that. I ended that month on 100, and then it just kept going. It kept going from there.
Wow.
So it really felt like that, I had that initial moment, which was very, very strange. I haven't had that again since, really. And then I felt those green shoots. And I said to myself, if I don't feel those green shoots, then I'll just accept it and maybe try something else. I don't know, something. But the green shoots happened. I think it was because I really, really, really wanted it. And I really felt like it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life if I don't do it.
Yep. Got to find out.
Yeah.
Why do you think social media is great for your brain? First question.
Okay. Well, it's very stimulating.
Yes.
I can spend hours scrolling. I don't know about you, Ben, but I can while away many an hour.
Yep.
There are a lot of funny people on the internet, which I enjoy a lot. And it kind of makes me feel less alone in a way. Because sometimes I have the most like banal chats with people and I'm like, oh, what's going on? Where are my people? And then I open social media and there's some really funny people doing really funny stuff. And I feel more myself and less alone.
And then what about the downside?
Well, that's the very point. It's very addicting. And it feeds that cycle of like a short dopamine, which is obviously very bad for our brains. And then it's so addicting that it takes away from my overall mission, which is to keep creating content, which takes time and focus and energy. And if I'm scrolling, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, it's tough. You have to find a balance. Still trying to find that balance. I think many of us are in many ways. Sometimes I like to say I think I've got it under control.
Okay.
But I don't.
And where do you see ADHD in social media?
Relating to each other?
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. It's a blessing and a curse, isn't it? I think it's growing into more of a problem than we think it is. There's no long-term data on what this kind of like short loop attention span is going to do to our brains.
Yes.
And the over-reliance on a device for our funnies. Like we should be getting that from the real world. Or we should be creating that
you've
ourselves.
just said it. Like sometimes I can have really boring chats with people in the real world.
Yeah.
And be absolutely entertained.
Yeah, exactly.
To his little screen.
I'd rather spend an hour with a screen than a real person, which is really bad, you know? I guess it's more about like I should be seeking out my tribe instead of just falling back into the scroll pattern. So I recognise that. It's obviously nice to be aware of it.
And does neurodivergence come up? Feeding the brain, all that kind of, does that come up with your community?
It's funny. It's almost like I don't want to focus the whole account on that. Even speaking to you, like it makes so much sense. The whole account is born out of that. And it's a huge part of my story and a huge part of my struggles, which I try to show up in a very relatable way. I'm not really creating like this perfect persona because I want people to know I'm definitely not perfect at all. I get stuff wrong all the time. And I know that it's quite damaging for me to assume that people on social media have their shit together. So I try and tell people that I'm quite the opposite.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it complements my content in a really lovely way. At the moment, I am thinking about doing a little bit more about it because it gets such a beautiful response from people. Everybody really loves it when I say, hey, I'm struggling with this today because, as you know, I have ADHD and I have these struggles, and I think people enjoy that. I don't want the whole account to become about that in a way.
Yep.
But I'm still finding that balance. But I think it's going to feel really organic and natural when it does.
It makes sense when this is your career. This is where it's come from. You want people to feel great, and food is an amazing vehicle to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, in that kind of sense of nourishment and kind of being real and sort of telling the truth, it feels like that doesn't sound weird to me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more I could do to connect the two.
Yeah.
I think there's some dots that could be connected there that might help a few more people. I tend to talk about it more on stories than I do in reels. But I think that there is such a huge link between what we eat and how well our brains do day to day, and how we can potentially alter our brain chemistry through food, which is really, really cool. And I would honestly feel very fulfilled if people were to report back and say that it had helped them in that sense. It helped them manage their symptoms more effectively.
Yeah, because of all the other associated things that can come, inflammation, autoimmune, et cetera, that I definitely, as I see part and parcel of neurodivergence potentially for people is all this other stuff that being late diagnosed and having so many years misdiagnosed, etc., can lead to physically.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess my very layman's terms myth, which you're going to dispel right now, Sophie, is that, whoa, you can't get any protein if you're just having plant-based. Mm-hmm. Please dispel that for me.
Well, I mean, what do you feed your animals? Is it grass-fed?
I mean, grass-fed, hay, apples, acorns, some pig nuts for the pigs, chickens, chicken feed, grain, corn.
Yeah, so it's a lot of the grains and the feed, particularly a lot of industrially farmed animals are fed soybeans. That's plant protein. So plants, they contain protein. They always have done. In pretty much every plant, there's some protein.
Okay.
Some are higher than others.
Yep.
But each plant contains all of the essential amino acids, just in different amounts. And obviously, you wouldn't just eat broccoli.
Sure.
Or you wouldn't just eat soy, even though soy is actually quite a good distribution of amino acids. You would naturally combine them. So, yeah, I mean, it's just as long as you're focusing on a more denser source of plant protein, which there are many, you know, soy products being a key one, but obviously grains as well, like lots of pastas, and rice and quinoa also contain protein. I would generally advise people to focus on things like seitan, tempeh, tofu, nuts and seeds. So having like a good diverse range of plant protein sources that are a bit denser is great. And obviously some of the vegetables come from the farm, but you might have like nuts and seeds as well on things like porridge.
Sure.
You know, and maybe, I don't know if you like oats.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, oats also contain lots of protein.
Yeah.
So there's loads of sources of plant protein you'll already be getting.
Not just beans and nuts.
Beans is one I've forgotten actually.
Yeah,
beans, legumes.
the beans.
Yeah. But what you do is you just replace the meat part of the meal with something that's a little bit denser in plant protein, like tofu, tempeh, beans, or seitan. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I tend to say to people, it's actually not complicated. Once you got your head around those initial things, people think it's a lot more complicated than it actually is. But it's really not. And it can be a really fun process, actually. I mean, you kind of cook tofu and tempeh in the same way that you would cook chicken or steak. So really, there's not a lot. You just apply the same techniques. You would season, you'd sear it, you'd put a sauce, you might bread it, you might batter it, those kind of things.
It's just breaking down the old kind of traditional meat and two veg kind of, that's how you do things.
Yeah, it's tough, especially when that's all you've known.
Yes.
Like, I come from a very unique position. I obviously have never had that. It's always been vegetarian protein sources or vegan protein sources. So I recognise that. That's what So Smart Kitchen is all about.
What do you think about things like Impossible Foods?
Yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah, no, it's great. Obviously, like, not something to have every day. I think they get a lot of bad press. Meat replacements can actually be a lot healthier than actual meat, especially processed meat.
Okay.
And red meat.
Yeah.
So that's always good to know. And in terms of like, if you're thinking about environmental benefits, it's always going to be a better option to choose like an imitation burger or an imitation steak rather than actually have it, because of the land usage and the water usage. I know there's like certain nuances around local regenerative farming, but also like there's a lot of things that people should know, like the actual transportation of these products only accounts for 7% of all emissions. So it's never been an arguing point.
No.
And also soy production, for example, people always say it drives deforestation, but most of that, in fact, like over 80% of the soy that is grown after deforestation is fed to industrially farmed animals.
Yeah, which is double madness, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you actually get less energy and less calories per, like if you were to consume the soy directly from source, you would get more calories than you would if you put it through an animal. And then that animal needs to graze on land, and it needs a certain amount of water usage. So if you add that all up per calorie, it's way more expensive for the environment to eat meat than it is to consume plant-based. But I recognize that it's not for everybody. I get that. And I think that's a really lovely way of having like the 75%, you know, the 70-30 or an 80-20 or whatever, and working towards something that's a little bit more achievable like that. Yeah. Especially if meat has been a big part of tradition, especially with farming. I completely get that. There's a lot of things that need to change. If plant proteins are to become super, super mainstream, there's going to need to be lots of government policy change, which I'm not sure will happen. There's lots of meat lobbies and stuff like that. So it's a very complex topic.
It is a very complex topic.
But this is, you know, this is my bag. This is what I love talking about. So.
Yeah, and it's super interesting. I guess I'm also interested in the nutritional content of our plants, vegetables, fruits, etc. now versus 30 years ago, which I know has massively declined. Do you take supplements? What do you think about supplements?
Yeah, no, I do take supplements. You don't naturally get B12. I mean, B12 is a compound created in soils. You probably know more about this than I do, but I don't know whether it's like naturally occurring unless you are eating just organic produce from like really enriched soil.
Sure.
So a lot of animals are actually fed B12 supplements.
Yep.
And some of the they're not always fed the B12 supplements.
Sure.
So actually there are some meat eaters that are deficient in B12 without even realizing it. Yep. Which is interesting.
Yep. And iron.
Yeah, exactly. And also heme iron, which is the iron that is naturally occurring in meat, has been linked to some diseases as well. So if you're that way inclined, or if you're looking to reduce your chances of doing that, it's probably best to weight it more in the plant-focused area of the protein. But yeah, additionally, as well as B12, I take a vegan omega supplement. But a lot of people do take an omega-3 supplement, which is kind of fish oil. Yep. But for vegans, we take an algae supplement, which is what the fish eat.
Yes.
So essentially, we're just going straight to the source.
Yes, yes.
A common attack vector from a lot of meat enthusiasts is it's not natural. You need to supplement your diet.
Oh, you're not eating naturally because you're having to supplement?
Yeah, okay. Exactly that. So that's often...
Do you get a lot of flack? Do people give you some stick?
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I mean, like my comment section is a daily battle.
Oh, let's talk about that for a second. An RSD.
Yeah, if I have an episode, I have to ban myself from the phone because I can really get into a back and forth with people.
Okay.
And it will really affect me. Like, for example, I've had quite a good streak of not having that happen recently, touch wood. But a couple of months ago, I posted something and there was just a lot of negativity in the comment section, a lot of misinformation. I react to misinformation like it's a personal affront. So when that happens, I can really just like, unleash. Yeah, then unleash, and then the whole trajectory of my day is ruined. I cannot get myself away from the phone. I'm constantly waiting for a reply. I'm really wired. I'm really amped up. It's really, really bad. Anything that I had planned on the agenda, forget it. It's really, really bad. It can ruin a day. If I look at it early enough in the morning, forget that day.
Who are these people?
Well, I mean, a lot of them are probably trolls.
Is it the meat plant debate? Is that what's so controversial or that they hate so much?
Yeah, I mean, I think when someone's gone believing something their whole life and maybe they're in that industry and they're very much attached to the idea or the truth of something being a certain thing, if someone challenges that, then they can get quite aggressive. and mean and rude. And because obviously keyboard warriors and the internet, it's a breeding ground for that kind of behavior. So it just happens. And yeah, it's just an easy target, I guess.
What are the general themes?
You're a stupid little girl. You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
A lot of misogyny. A lot of sometimes death threats. Sometimes.
Really?
No, I just go straight to the block. Yeah, there are people that tell me to like go to the gulag or something. I would just block them. It's okay. I've grown past that stage of being really, really offended. And now I recognize it as somebody who's hurting and is maybe needs help. So I prefer to like just...
You wouldn't?
No,
I
used to engage with that. Or sometimes I used to pin them.
Okay.
But now I try and see, like, for example, if somebody is spouting misinformation on a post and perhaps that's generating some conversation, I might wade in there and be like, hey, this is misinformation because blah, 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 blah. And then I might get into a back and forth with somebody who will not give up, you know, and will just...
Want to have the last say.
Yeah, there was actually a particular girl who was saying something about how soy is the reason for deforestation or tofu is the reason for deforestation. And I went back with my facts. And it's kind of like it wouldn't go in properly. I think sometimes you just need to quit while you're ahead.
How do you see ADHD being represented in the media? Not just social, but in the media and for women?
The headline that I always see is, oh, everyone's getting ADHD. It's just a trend. That really annoys me. And it almost stops me talking about it a bit more because even though I know, like I'm 110% sure, like I feel almost like I can't talk about it because I'm afraid of what people might think. Yeah. Which is really tough because I feel like there's probably a lot of people out there like me who would benefit a lot from being a little bit more open and unmasking for once. My God, it feels good to even just talk to you about this stuff, you know? Like I've gone through so many podcasts where I've just had to be on guard and stuff like that, but it's incredibly freeing and it's actually so good for my mental health. And I just feel very frustrated that those are the headlines that are getting through. But obviously, like I tend to just keep myself away from a lot of news because I don't necessarily align or trust it. Yeah. You don't want to go down that path too much, but
yeah, they're like ADHD or autism is trendy.
Yeah.
I just cannot get my head around that at all.
It's just a symptom of our times, isn't it? I think very much with what we were talking earlier about families and certain generations having their walls up about it and literally not accepting the truth. I think that there's a lot of people in editing positions or positions of power in media who definitely have that narrative and maybe they're just part of the problem and they've probably got neurodivergent kids who are screaming for them to perhaps take responsibility for certain things, maybe understand a little bit more, but that's how I think of it. I think perhaps we're just in this era where that generation still have control of a lot of mainstream media and I try not to internalize it too much.
Yeah. And so why now? Like, why come and sit and chat to me and talk about this? Yeah, why are you here? What are you doing here?
I feel like particularly today is almost quite emotional for me because it almost feels like I'm finally kind of proud to come out and say that, like, that I do struggle. And it feels like a point in my journey. And obviously, maybe I'll go down the route of official diagnosis. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll try meds. Maybe I won't. But this feels like something that I needed to do because I, for once, feel normal, like talking to you about this. Whereas I've never really felt like I was understood by the majority of people, apart from my partner. And it just feels like a bit of a milestone in that, being able to be so honest and actually like owning stuff that happened years ago, which created me into this person. And in some ways, I'm thankful for that. And it's almost like people talk about ADHD as a superpower. I'll be honest with you, I don't see it as a superpower. But I do thank it for getting me here. And I thank it for some things that it has given me. So yeah, it's been a real pleasure just to be here.
Do you notice do you know the word stimming?
Oh yeah, I stim all the time.
Yeah. Whilst you were saying that, you were playing with your hair.
So I've done this all my life, and actually there's a bald patch in this side of my hair. So I've had to take it from the back because there's more hair there. And I'll do it wherever I am, whoever I'm talking to, regardless of anything. I've actually been holding it back for so long. It's just been in the back of my mind. I just want to grab it.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
God, if you ask like Phoebe and Charlie, who have to edit my ridiculousness, I do a lot of sniffing. My feet are usually part of the problem of I'm not so much of a kind of tapper, but I am a
wiggler.
Yeah, I probably am like a foot mover.
Do you know what I've seen you do?
What have you?
Crossing your legs.
Yeah.
Over and over. Do you know what I read the other day? This was really interesting. Apparently there's some new research into your hips being a little bit asymmetrical, or one side of your back being tighter as an ADHDer or as somebody who's neurodivergent. So in order to kind of equal that out, you will automatically cross your legs. I'm actually hypermobile in the hips.
Yeah.
And I have one hip that gives me a lot of pain, which is why I always tend to find, I don't know if you've seen these reels where like maybe you'll be having a conversation and you'll just start stretching, or you'll just go into a deep plunge.
Right. No, I haven't seen those.
But it made a lot of sense. And I was like, okay, sometimes I think to myself, this link is tenuous. Is it really a thing? And then I'm like, well, actually, no, like all of them are like tick, 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 tick. There must be something in it.
Yeah, there must be
something. So there you go.
In
Yours is the cross leg.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I do that a lot. I have a very bad back. And so I kind of...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
You should look into this.
Yeah. I'm really grateful that you've come on and talked about your brain and felt comfortable to do that. And regardless of your kind of public profile, you absolutely deserve to be yourself. Diagnosis, not diagnosis, family input, not family input, it doesn't matter. Like and I'm only speaking, I guess, here from my experience of masking for so long, and therefore so much pressure and so much energy needed to kind of appear normal, and not even realizing that there was another way, or that even wasn't normal, or that even wasn't myself, and that wasn't even a conscious choice. Not even like a conscious choice. It just is.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's so exhausting. And yet, as you said, like so liberating when you don't have to do that.
It's really nice.
Yeah, and so in the nicest possible way, you do have some sort of responsibility, Sophie, to be yourself. And you already help so many people, but this like takes it to another level. And it's not about making it all about ADHD, but it is about loving your brain and nourishing your brain. And so, yeah, thank you very much, because I know that this is going to be a really great one for our audience. And it's an important one that we've not had lots of guests who are not diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And self-diagnosis and self-assessment, all that kind of stuff is as valid as ever with so many people on waiting lists, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go sit in a car and zone out.
Yeah, zone away. Don't look at social media.
Yeah, need my like time to just disconnect for a bit.
Yeah, disconnect.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you and just have this gorgeous conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Last question. We have our green badges, which you have one that you are wearing. People can buy these from our website, charity. All the money comes to us. Yes, it does, because it's a donation for our charity. But I'm giving you a second one today. Who would you like to give it to?
Thank you, and love what you do. I'm going to give it to my friend Charlotte Forbes, who I used to work with at that advertising agency.
Okay, on the plasters.
Yeah, she also has ADHD, and she left around the same time as me to go and set up her own ADHD coaching company called ADHD Club. And she's doing amazingly, and she's great. So I'm going to give her one.
Thanks, Sophie, and good luck with your run tomorrow.
Thank you. Yeah, another 8K to do today. Wish me luck.
That's it for today's episode of The Hidden 20%. But just before you go, a favour. The Hidden 20% is a charity, and we do this to bring you the truth, the latest research, and the real stories that matter. So if this episode spoke to you, then please hit subscribe. And if you can, donate via the link below. Finally, a big shout out to you all for listening and our brilliant team who make this all happen. Phoebe, Charlie, Kristen, James, John, and the guys at TYX Studios. We'll see you next time.